What are the best ways to pay off your debt, and which method is actually banned by some banks? Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, two methods you've likely heard of before. I'll discuss the pros and cons there. And then one of them is banned by some banks, and it's actually my favorite one. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. The first one is the debt snowball. This is most popular, or popularized rather, by Dave Ramsey. Basically, you take all your debts, you start with the smallest one, focus on that, and work your way up to the largest amount. You're not paying attention to interest rates. What are the pros here? Well, one, there have been some studies that show that you are more motivated by paying down the smaller debts and working your way up. I like to think of it like trying to diet and exercise. Once you start to lose a pound or two, exercise is a lot more fun. I know for the opposite side, when you exercise, you don't lose weight or you actually gain weight. That's not fun at all, right? It really throws your mindset off, and it's just not a great experience. But when you start small and start to see progress, you're more motivated to kind of work your way up. Another way to look at this is like making a to-do list, right? You may have something big like cutting the yard and doing all the larger things on your list. But if you put a little small things on there first, you start to get momentum. You start to get a little more motivated to knock out whatever that big thing is at the end of the day. That is one way to do it. What is the cons though? What are the cons? Well, one of them is you might not save that much money by doing so. When you're not paying attention to the interest rate, you could be focusing on the really, really small debt, taking that one out, where the big debt is at 20% interest or 25% interest, and that is going to cost you over time. So if I'm looking at how much money I'm going to pay between any of these methods, you might actually pay the most with the debt snowball. But again, it's the psychological factor. Would you rather pay more and pay it off, or fall off the wagon and continue paying more in some other fashion? So there are pros and cons. I'll say that I've used it to pay off my student loans. It was easier, my undergrad student loans. It was easier for me to say, look, of all these 5 loans, I'm gonna start with this $2,000 one and then work my way up until all of them were gone. So that is how I did it. I actually mixed two methods as well. On the opposite side of this, that's where we see the Avalanche method. You take all of these debts and you list them by the highest interest rate. You will save more money by doing this method, and that's easy because the highest interest rate is going to cost you the most money, right? And you want to make sure that you take care of those. The mathematic approach to this, not the emotional approach like the first one. But what are the cons here? Going back to our exercise metaphor, you are not going to see a lot of progress in the very beginning by paying the one with the highest interest rate. For some people, that can be discouraging. For others, they push on through and it doesn't bother them at all. You're, again, going to pay less money by focusing on the interest rate first. Again, this is the mathematical approach to it. But again, it really comes back to what is the best fit for you and what works with you and your personality and what's going to get you to the goal of being debt-free at the end of the day. For me, this ain't the way that I've attacked it. Now, the reason why that is number one, I don't have any credit card debt that is hit by interest rates, right? Anytime I charge my credit card, it's paid off before the interest is due. So I haven't needed to use it, okay, to be transparent. But again, you will save the most money, but is at least encouraging. Is the one that does not have the most momentum. But some people care about that stuff. Other people don't. But which one do the banks not want you to use? Which one is banned? This one is taking your debt payments and dividing them by 2. Basically, you're paying these debts every 2 weeks. So for example, how does this work? How is this beneficial? Let's say that you have a $100 debt that you need to pay every month. So that's $1,200 a year, okay? 100 times 12 is $1,200. Well, let's take that 100 and divide it by 2. Now I'm paying $50 every 2 weeks. So that is 50 times 26. That gives us $1,300. That means I made one extra payment. That's it. I made one extra payment, and that is going to help me to pay the debt off sooner because every year I'm making one extra payment, and it's going to save me a little bit in interest. However, some banks don't allow this. Okay, some banks do not allow this. This is the method I'm currently using to pay off my home, and when I was looking for a home, that's one of the first things I asked. It's like, hey, can I make bi-weekly payments? Because I want to make sure I'm paying this off quickly. And the other benefit is it can help me at times to smooth out my income stream, okay? Because when you think about it, when I was getting paid just on the 1st and the 15th or every 2 weeks, that first 2 weeks I pay off all the bills and I'm struggling, right until I get that second check in the month, and then I can start to do what I want to do, and then that cycle continues over and over and over again. Well, it's a lot easier if I can cut those payments in half, and I can kind of have an even keel month when it comes to income and it comes to spending. What are the disadvantages though? Well, number one, not every bank allows this, which I think is trash. But again, the bank is there to make money. They make money by you being in debt. They make money by charging an interest rate. Okay, just throwing it out there. I worked at banks, okay? Just throwing it out there, okay? So that is one way to look at it. And one of the disadvantages. However, the other disadvantage is this, and you know this if you've ever been at a job or had a business where you get paid every 2 weeks. There are some amazing weeks where you get 3 paychecks in a month. It feels amazing, okay? But if you're paying your debt every 2 weeks, there could be an extra mortgage payment. There could be an extra payment for your student loan or whatever it is that you're looking for. And that is something you do want to be aware about. Now, it depends on what the amount is. An extra $75 payment, an extra $200 payment for some people might not be, may not faze them as much, and they may be okay with that. When it's an extra $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 a month payment, like a mortgage or something, okay, might be something you want to consider and something you want to be aware of. So I want to give you the pros and the cons of that, but that has been one of my most effective routes to take and has been the one that's helped me to get out of debt very quickly when it came to student loans, and we'll see what happens with the mortgage as I'm currently paying that one off. Now, you can also combine some of these methods too. So you can take something that has the highest interest rate, divide it by 2, make those payments every 2 weeks, or use the snowball method, cut them in half and make those payments every 2 weeks. That's the method that I use. So I use, number one, that snowball, and then the bi-weekly method to pay out my undergrad student loans. So that is the method that has worked for me. However, not all debts are bad. Okay, not all debts are bad, and there are some ways you actually use debt to build wealth. But exactly how does that work, and can it work for you? You want to check out this video right here.